That was. Thank you, sir. What's wrong? Take that up. Hey, what's up, everybody? Your boy Jeffrey L. Boney here for another edition of Trending Tuesdays. Did you miss me? I wasn't here for the last meeting. Hey, but we're back like never before, man. As you know, I'm running for this thing called Mayor of Missouri City, Texas. So I've been on the campaign trail, and I need all of you who are in Mo City or know someone in Mo City to let them know there's a major election coming up this November the 4th, and you need to get to the polls. You see what's happening in Washington, D.C. You see what's happening in the state of Texas. You see what's happening in Fort Bend County, where they're also talking about redistricting, or I think they made a decision on redistricting, and they're supposed to have a second reading on that coming up. So there's a lot going on, y'all. Who you elect matters, and who you elect locally impacts you more. So it's important that you get to the polls, and I need all of you to let the world know Jeffrey L. Boney is on the ballot this November, #1 on the ballot, Mayor of Missouri City, Texas. All right, let's give it up for our live studio audience in the building. As always, we want to give a shout out to Danette Davis and Kay Davis in the community. We're here in the Kay Davis Showroom Plus, right here in the heart of Sunnyside, Houston, Texas, and I'm excited to talk about something that we all need to be aware of. 65 years, or has it been 75 years? 75 years since 1950, since Sweatt versus Painter. Studio audience, y'all ever heard about Sweatt versus Painter? All right, well, you're going to learn today. All right, we're going to talk about it because it impacted our ability to it changed the way that we were educated, as far as how we were educated, moving away from segregated schools to integrated schools. And so here to talk about Sweatt versus Painter, well, let me give you a little background on it. Heman Sweatt was a black applicant to the University of Texas Law School, or should I say School of Law, and he was denied entry. He eventually sued, and with Sweatt versus Painter, which was the lawsuit that was filed, the court invalidated the separate but equal doctrine, Plessy versus Ferguson, in higher education, and was a crucial step toward the desegregation of schools, and it influenced what we now know as Brown versus Board of Education. And so, in essence, the U.S. Supreme Court, with their decision, ruled that in states, just like here in Texas, where public, graduate, and professional schools existed for white students but not for black students must be admitted to the all-white institutions, and that the Equal Protection Clause required Heman Sweatt's admission to the University of Texas School of Law. Here to talk about Sweatt versus Painter and the 75th anniversary in commemoration of it, as well as some of the things that we as organizations and individuals are not doing or should be doing as it relates to some of the decisions that we're seeing come down the pike, are two high-profile attorneys who have made, don't make that face, I'm telling you, high-profile attorneys that have done so much and have a true pedigree and resume that I could sit here all night. We could do a whole show on just their resumes alone, but we're going to get to the topic and subject matter at hand. First, distinguished law professor, former president of Texas Southern University, and also the dean of the Thurgood Marshall School of Law at Texas Southern University. He really needs no further introduction. He's a frequent guest here on Trending Tuesdays. Let's give it up for Dr. James Douglas, y'all. Yes, yes, yes. Look at him just looking so debonair. Would you agree?
Black and gold.
All right. And then now we also have another distinguished attorney who, oh my God, former president of the National Bar Association, also the former past chair of the Houston Lawyers Association, former executive director of Habitat for Humanity, as well as a lawyer, housing development consultant, Howard University grad, native Houstonian. Let's give it up for none other than Aljanita Scott Davis, y'all. All right, welcome to welcome back to Trending Tuesdays. Let's talk about it. We'll start with you, Aljanita. Sweatt versus Painter, 75 years. What is your thoughts on what happened and where we are today?
I have lots and lots of thoughts on Sweatt v. Painter. Number one, because it's 75th anniversary, and so that year 1950 is very special to me because this is my 75th year. Oh. So I'm excited about that. And as
75 where?
75 years old.
75
yeah.
where?
In 2 weeks.
Y'all see 75? Come on now.
And so I look at it as and look back over and think about Sweatt and think about what it must have been like and what it must have been like in Houston during that time. And I got a chance today, because this is National Voter Registration Day,
it is,
to talk about the fact that its impact is felt because we are not explaining to our young folks about the vote and what the vote does and how the vote determined that there had to be a Sweatt v. Painter. Because if Sweatt had gone to the University of Texas and they just let him in, then there would not have been a problem and there would not be the beginning of desegregation of public schools in Houston. And that decision was made at 2209 Dowling at Wesley Chapel AME Church when he stood up as a postal worker, 37 years old, and decided, I'm going to go ahead and be that volunteer. And so I know we'll be talking a whole lot about it, but I think that when we look at his impact and what the result of the lawsuit did in the establishment of the Texas State College for Negroes,
University.
or Texas Southern, my mother's degree says Texas State College for Negroes, and the fact that Texas hadn't educated one Negro. Okay, so they claim that because of the Sweatt case, because they had lost the lawsuit and they wanted to say, okay, well, we are now educating our folks in Texas and they don't have to go out of the state as they had before to get the professional education and come back to be reimbursed. So the impact, because of the university and what that university has done for this city and for this nation, is just, it cannot be measured in any way. Can you imagine Houston without Texas's Southern University? You can't imagine. You can't imagine it without a Rev. Lawson. You can't imagine it without a John Biggers. You can't imagine it without Dr. Wardlaw, who came here. All of the brain power that came to this city because there was a state-supported university, and that changed the entire face of Houston. So that's the impact that we are now seeing, and then we'll talk about the rest of the stuff later.
Absolutely. Dr. Douglas, your thoughts on the 75th anniversary of Sweatt versus Painter and where we are today?
I guess my first thought goes back to the NAACP and the hand the NAACP had in transforming American society.
Yes.
And one of the reasons that Houston and Texas was chosen
Yes.
was Smith v. Albright and Carter Wesley. We had a very active, small, but very active group of African American lawyers in the city of Houston. In fact, the national NAACP always complained about Houston, say Negroes in Houston had too many lawyers and too much money. You know, Carter Wesley was always stirring the pot, and so we had an active group of here in Houston NAACP. But what I think is the way it transformed American society, because when you go back to the whole plan that was put together back in the 30s by Charles Hamilton Houston, see, people think all this just happened overnight, but they worked on this for 20, 25 years, getting to Sweatt and getting to Brown. So that's what I think about. And Aldenita had this book Before Brown. I tell you a crazy story about this book. I don't know if I told you, Aldenita. The author came to me because he had come to Reverend Lawson, and he was asking Reverend Lawson to read the transcript for the book, and Reverend Lawson said, the person you really need to have read the transcript is Douglas. So he came to me, and the title of the book was The Biography of Heman Sweatt. And I said, do you realize if there had never been a Sweatt, there wouldn't have been a Brown?
Right. That's
So
the
he
issue.
changed the title to Before Brown, because Brown Sweatt laid the groundwork for the Brown decision. So when I think of Sweatt, I think of how important it was to the development of race relationships in this country.
Wow. I think about, and you talked about the NAACP and the significant influence that the NAACP has had, not only at the national level, but the various local level chapters who made a difference. And you talked about the lawyers that were a part of it, because a significant part of the NAACP was the Legal Defense Fund,
Right.
Through the NAACP. And you had people like the Thurgood Marshalls, who eventually became a Supreme Court justice, who were actively a part of the NAACP. But you fast forward to today, and the NAACP of old ain't the NAACP of today. And so you see that they were actively filing lawsuits and actively challenging decisions that were being made by the government, whether it be local, county, state, or federal. And it appears, and maybe I'm just not seeing it, but I talk to people, it appears that the NAACP is not as active as it used to be.
You're right. And that's because society has changed. All right? Society in 2025 is not society we had in 1947 and 1948 and 1950. I tell people we have probably about 500 active members of the Houston branch of the NAACP. You know how many they had in 1947? 13,000.
Yeah.
All right?
Yeah.
See, people come up to me and say, NAACP not doing anything. I said, what are you doing?
Yeah. What'd
All
you
right?
sign up
So
for?
the NAACP is made up of the community. There are very few people who want to get involved.
But why is that? I mean, if 13,000,
Okay,
hold on one second. If 13,000 wanted to be a part in those times, there was something that was a catalyst, something that drove
Yes.
them to want to be involved.
Yes.
What is it that drove them to be a part then that is not driving them to be a part now?
Legalized segregation.
Yes.
Everybody was hurt by segregation. It didn't matter whether you were rich and black or poor and black. You still couldn't eat where you
because Dr. Douglas has been at TSU so long, and I told him, I said, you still got TSU on your tags? And people ask him when he does, since he was president. And so people ask him, when are you going to retire? He said, when the job is done. The job is not done. So I'm going to be there as long as they need me. And so I just wanted to say that. I see that. You have lived that. But anyway, I want to introduce, you tell them who you are and what organization you're with, a little bit about your event, because it has to do with students and young people, and it has to do with what we're talking about tonight. So real briefly.
Well, thank you so much for giving me the opportunity. My name is Carmela Walker, and I'm the program manager for the Center for Social Justice, Education, and Advocacy at the Houston Area Urban League. And so just based on what you all were talking about, which was just ultimately probably one of the most important features right now, especially for African Americans, is the youth vote. And what we know is the youth are not feeling very empowered right now. Right. And so we need to be able to support our youth in a way that's going to be, engaging. I mean, it takes 7 seconds for them to scroll through these phones. You can't really hold their attention for too long. So what the Houston Area Urban League and Center for Social Justice has done is we've partnered with District D, Dr. Carolyn Evans-Shabazz, her office. We've partnered with the Faith, Freedom, and Food Bank, along with TSU's debate team and also the Ensemble Theater. And so we wanted to create like a civic engagement arts experience. And we're also going to have LDF there, their youth engagement liaison, and we're going to have a panel discussion. So we'll have like some vignettes. We'll also have the TSU debate team actually performing a dramatic performance. And then we're going to go into a discussion with the youth to really learn and unpack their concerns and the solutions around those concerns. What we know that there is no longer trust, and as Aljanita so eloquently stated, that they're just not engaged. They're not engaged because we're not there, because they feel as though our generation may have failed them. So we want to be able to show them our support. We want to be able to have this experience to be kind of evolutionary so that they can understand the importance of why they need to show up at the polls. Right. I think in 2023 they said about 70% of youth under the age of 40 did not cast their vote. Why? Why? So we have to be able to impress upon them the need. We're passing the torch to the youth. This is their time. We have to create some kind of civic engagement action around this time. It's imperative.
Now, you'll give them the date and the place.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
The date will be September 24th. It'll be from 6 to 8 p.m. We'll have some food. We'll have some fun. We'll have some security there, of course, right? But that's the time frame. Doors open at 5:30. So we would hope to see you there and spread the word to the youth. This is their time to talk about the issues that are bothering them, and perhaps maybe we can come up with some solution-oriented momentum to help them get to the polls.
Okay. Now she's going to find her after. I know there are folk that are going to have questions. I want you to find her after we're done, and she can give you information. You can get a number. You can get everything that you'll need. Your name is?
Yeah, Carmela Walker.
Carmela Walker.
Yes, and it's the Houston Area Urban League Center for Social Justice, Education, and Advocacy Program Manager, C. Walker at haul.org. 281-220-6025 is my office number. And I have cards too. Thank you.
All right. I just want to do that. That's going to be, Jeff, I wanted to make sure I said that. And it was one other thing. You asked Professor Douglas about other organizations and why do they exist. And so we had Urban League here. That's another one that's hanging out. And NAACP is still here. What have you, kind of rang a bell. And then the last thing was I wanted to make sure that Attorney Aljanita, when as you push through, she is like the housing developer, guard, queen, guru. She has all the information, and I want to make sure that we touch on that as well. So thank y'all. And after Jeff's done, we're going to say goodbye and talk about food and conversation. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. All right. Give it up for Danette Davis. and our special guest. All right, we'll jump right into it. We got a few more minutes to just talk about this. Aljanita, it was mentioned, I'm going to come to you, Doc Douglas. I know Doc been waiting to pounce back on the conversation. Go right ahead, Doc.
No, I wasn't waiting to pounce on the conversation. I was waiting to pounce on something that
You was waiting to pounce. You just
right, and it's something that I try to get the youth to understand. All right. Nobody came to me. Reverend Lawson didn't come to me and said, Douglas, I'm planning this march, and you need to participate. Nobody came to, I remember in 1970, nobody came to Anthony Hall and Mickey Leland and Craig Washington and said you needed to run, y'all need to get involved politically. We did it. We took responsibility. We didn't ask old people to get out of the way. We didn't ask old people to tell us what to do. All right? The youth are going to have to take some responsibility themselves.
Yes. The Bible says, raise up a child in the way that they should go, and when they get older, they won't depart from it. So if you're not raising them in the way that they should go, if they don't know, if they're not aware, then how do they know to volunteer and step up and do X, Y, Z?
My kids know.
But we have a lot of young folks that don't live in that did not live in your residence that actually are probably clearly they're looking for guidance. They're looking for direction. They feel like those before them has not stepped up to the plate to deal with it, so they're starting their own thing or trying to figure it out their own way. So we can't continue to have the divide. We have to provide a bridge to bridge the chasm between us. Otherwise, we're going to continue to go down a path where you have young folks that are seeking guidance, seeking direction, and just trying to figure it out on their own, while you have those that are older saying, figure it out on your own.
No, what I'm saying is I'm hoping that some youth will step up and take the responsibility for leading the youth.
Gotcha.
Will step up and take responsibility for leading the youth. When I was young, hey, everybody wasn't like me, all right? But I felt I had an obligation that if we didn't get together and start participating, then nothing was going to change.
I see young people doing a lot. I see them, I think about my nephew, Darrell, who's done the TED Talks for Third Ward. I didn't even know you could do a TED Talks, I mean, things that they organize that so on their phones and put that together, and I was still trying to email. I'd miss the meeting, some stuff would happen, because they are doing a lot. The key is, what is the result? What results are they seeking? Are they seeking a personal benefit? Are they seeking a benefit for the businesses that they are creating? Are they seeking a benefit for their community? The end result and the targets are different. And they're different because of the positive part of the desegregation. That yes, they can go into an environment. Yes, they can play football and sign millions of dollars worth of contracts when 50 years ago, and I was practicing law 50 years ago. 50 years ago, when somebody walked into the office of what's his name, Williams, that was with the Oilers, he wouldn't even talk to a black lawyer representing somebody. He would turn his chair around. You know what I mean? So yes, this black person never do that. That wouldn't talk to somebody black. Okay, so yes, there are some positive things because we can live in different places. The flip side of that is that ability to spread out, to do other things, to participate, that ability distracts from the focus for the positiveness of your people. And if you are not thinking about what is good for your people, then it's real easy for you to think about, kind of what's good for me. And if you think about the dollars that are being made by some of our young people and what they're doing with those dollars, you don't see them investing in community causes and the causes for. When Sweatt got ready to go to law school, my father-in-law, Dr. John Davis, headed up the Sweatt Victory Fund. And they put together the money for him. They didn't have a scholarship for somebody like Heman Sweatt. And as I said the other night, when he went to the driver's license place to get his license renewed, the officer looked at him and said, "No N-word named Sweatt is going to get." I have the writings from lawyers that said, they wrote to Texas and they said, "Do not let Sweatt desegregate your school. Send him over here to Mississippi or to Alabama. We can show you." Bull Connor wrote to Texas and said, "We can show you what we do to niggas like that." You know what I mean? That our kids do not understand the value of what they have. So they don't sense the need to do something greater for somebody other than for themselves. And that's because we're spread out and we've had these benefits. What are some of the benefits of desegregation? Well, now children don't get books, but when I got a book, my book had 4 or 5 names on it before it got to me, because they were used in the white schools before they sent them over to our school. We didn't have the equipment, we didn't have the things, we didn't have we didn't have those things. Our students now, do they want to be in those schools with other folks? Yeah, they are. Are they still inspired and told that they could be everything by the teachers who don't look like them?
No. No.
Maybe not. So with that positive part comes a negative, and we have to make up for the negatives, those distractions that allow them to say, okay, I'm going to use my funds to just go buy a bunch of tennis shoes, or I'm going to use my funds to have 37 cars that go up and down. I'm going to use my funds. That inspiration for community, for a collectiveness, is something that's the bad part of desegregation.
See, and you have to remember, see, we think about the Legal Defense Fund and Thurgood now. But look back to the early 30s when Thurgood got out of law school. Charles Hamilton Houston convinced him to leave his little practice and come work with him at the NAACP. And at one point he said, "Man, I'm not making enough money to even pay my rent."
Right.
All right? And then Charles Hamilton Houston leaves. Thurgood is the only lawyer at the NAACP. So it's not, we look at the end,
Yeah.
but we're not looking at the beginning.
Struggles.
See, it's going to start small and it's going to grow.
But somebody has to teach that history. Somebody has to corral us to be able to learn these things and to use that as, I guess, a blueprint to understand that the struggles are going to be there, that we need to be patient, but we also have to put a plan together. I want to read something real quick. Carter G. Woodson, I read The Miseducation of the Negro about 4 times every year, once a quarter. Written in 1933. It's more applicable today than it was when it was published. But he says in one of the chapters, history shows that it does not matter who is in power or what revolutionary forces take over the government, Trump. Those who have not learned to do for themselves and have to depend solely on others never obtain any more rights or privileges in the end than they had in the beginning. And I'm simply saying that, we are all we got. We all we got. And it can't be the young folks ain't this, the old folks ain't that.
Right.
We are one. And if we don't come together as a little less than 14% of the population in America, and that's not just, that's also inclusive of those that are incarcerated, which is significant amongst our community. We have to drop all of the pointing the fingers and understand. I spent time and have spent time when I was a banker and also, in my community work and even as an elected official, dealing with different communities. And I see how many members of the Jewish community ensure that their children understand their history. They bring them to the Jewish Community Center. Right. They make sure that they're celebrated when they turn, 15 or 16 with a bar mitzvah.
12.
What is it?
I think it's 12.
It's 12? Okay. I know in the Hispanic community, they had a quinceañera.
Right.
It's 15. And then you have members of the Middle Eastern community and the Indian community. They make sure that they teach them their history. I've been to the Arabic Cultural and Community Center off of Stancliffe in 59 in the Beltway, and they teach them Arabic and they teach them their history and where they come from, and they have a connection to their history, to their past, who they are as a people. We're one of the only groups, if not the only, in America that have no connection to who we are as a people. We've embraced everybody else's culture, everyone else's ideologies, everyone else's belief.
And you have to understand, and you have to fight against what's being taught in the schools.
Yes. All right, y'all, we got some questions in the audience, and we got to get up out of here.
Okay, I just wanted to, folks were telling me they had a few questions, so I wanted to make sure we got to do that, because I know, this could probably go on, for like a series of like 8 hours each, right? For what you've lived and been through. Now, and Jeff, after we do the questions, if there's something that they want to add and say that they didn't get to say, let's please, because you guys, I don't know if you know what you have in front of you and the history and who these people are and the fight that they continue to fight. These guys are still out here battling for you and me and our kids and grandkids, and you guys have no idea. I think some of you do, but it's when to have them here is a blessing, and we're recording it, and we'll make sure as many people can see it. I even asked, did I ask you? That's my daughter over there. Did I say, Sweatt, did she know? No, that's my daughter. And I knew exactly how TSU was created and all of those things like that. And that's my daughter. And she didn't know the Herman Sweatt story.
You ain't got to call her.
I'm just saying. But we get lost. We get lost in translation.
Fault,
but I'm acknowledging that because that was the kind of everybody I asked. Mm-hmm. Just like when we talk about those Buffalo Soldiers, but the Camp Logan and all of that, that's coming up next that we're also working on. And you ask them, do you know that's Memorial Park? Mm-hmm. And they don't. And these folk finally, after 110 years, get a pardon and that kind of thing. It's crazy. Mm-hmm. And it's all Houston. You live in a very important city. Yes. And I just think we need to know how important we are to history. Mm-hmm. That's why I do it, okay? So, but we had some questions, and I wanted to, and somebody turn the air on, please, it's getting a little hot. You got the first question? Can y'all get me on the camera over here, or do I need them to come over to where you are? Yeah, I'm on, I see. You want to come up? You got a question? Anybody else, if you can you line up over here? Come around. And we're going to do about, if y'all can hold a little bit. Edwin's back there trying to get those lamb chops done. He's got all the other, greens and rice and all this stuff ready to go. They're on the pit. We got to feed you good. So come on.
But that's another question. I think I've talked about this before. They was talking about how can we connect. We got to connect with the youth. We have got to, because it's their time. And we need to find a way how we can have debates or whatever at the schools or wherever we can have them. And I think we got to get to starting in the 10th grade and come on up to seniors to college. We have to see young people like her. How often do you sit down and talk about Kendra Lamar and all those people? Could we use his strategy? Okay, we knew what's going on in Africa. Can we use their strategy? Are they going to help us? Well, we got to come with the youth. The youth is the one that organized that George Floyd. They organized all over the world.
Yes, yes.
The youth did that. We didn't do that.
Yes.
So we got to be able to, we got to find a way to connect with them to bring. I was talking to the kids, there was some NAACP and Urban League. So what's that? What do you mean? What's that? You don't know about the Urban League. You don't know about the NAACP. That was very hurtful. So we've got to find a way to connect with them.
All right, thank you.
Talking to the mic. Y'all talking to the mic. We having to record because we lost our internet earlier, so we want to make sure that those people hear this later can hear, okay?
It should be everybody's responsibility that once you hit about 45 or 50, that you have identified your replacement for everything that you do. You personally need to do that because that's the connection. Where is that person who is 20 years younger than you doing whatever you're doing? Who is that the person who's 20 years younger than me is already old. So that should be somebody who's sitting here that I can say, this is the person that I have attempted to put in my place that's younger and now 2 generations back, because there should be somebody who's 30 sitting here talking about Heman Sweatt.
Yes, my name is Ken Brown. It's so good to hear the history of great leaders like yourself, but there has been a lack of sensitivity to where we are today. We have went so far, but yet now our history is getting erased. We made a lot of moves, but they have been taken away when I look at all the historical black leaders that are getting torn down from their positions now. So we're definitely going back, but we're so busy living life that we have not taken time to look. My family came up from Alabama, went to Navasota. They were farmers, and we all became doctors and lawyers and teachers because they had that pride, that survival to move forward and to help one another. And like you said, we don't have that today. Today we are in self. What can I do for self? But my mother always said there was a diamond in the rough. And sometimes the ones that's on top are too scared to dig for the diamond in the rough. So if they don't dig, the diamond in the rough don't know, because there's nobody down there to let them know. So how can we let them know? The one that's not educated, the one that doesn't have money, but still have a desire to move forward and to help. How do we energize them when they feel like it's nothing to vote for because the leaders are shenanigans themselves? They are politicking themselves. And even the organization that's supposed to speak for us, they are politicking themselves. So until all the politicking stop, how are we going to help one another? Thank you so very much.
Thank you.
You know, I would have said 10 years ago, 20 years ago, it would be difficult to convince most African Americans that we would be where we are today. You know, I have it's a very short commentary. I made it in June of 1976. And I predicted that we would be discussing what we're discussing today. And everybody said I was crazy. And you know what? That occurred on the day the Supreme Court decided to hear Bakke.
Yes.
That was the first racial discrimination, what do they call it? Reverse discrimination lawsuit. When the Supreme Court decided to hear that, I predicted that we were going back to post-Reconstruction. And nobody believed it because everybody thought we were so far advanced that we could never turn back the clock. But that's what happens. And I tell everybody, this is what happened. And this story exemplifies it all. I don't know if most of you probably remember, you look old enough to remember when Wrigley chewing gum had had the market on chewing gum. So the Wrigleys owned the Chicago club. So one day, old man Wrigley was flying out to Arizona for spring training. And the guy sitting next to him said, Mr. Wrigley, you own the market in chewing gum. Why do you advertise so much? And he said, I advertise so much, and I give you the reason. It's the same reason you didn't ask the pilot, once we got up in the air, why didn't he turn the engine off? Because if you want to stay up, you got to still keep putting the pressure. You got to still, and we stopped fighting. We thought we had it won, but we stopped fighting. I spoke right after Barack Obama got elected, and the subject was, now that we have an African American president, is racism over? And I said, it's like, because I was speaking to youth, I said, it's like your parents who on medication. And the doctor tells them, I'm going to give you 14 days of medication. After 5 days, the symptoms will go away. But you keep taking the medication, otherwise the disease is going to come back. I say, if we stop taking the medication, the disease is going to come back.
Yeah.
We stop taking the medication.
Wow. We got another question.
And people have been asking about where the young people, they're here, they're in social media, they're on TikTok, they're on Instagram. Plenty of young people are talking about what's going on. The same way Trump was birthed by Obama, there are generations of people speaking out, you know, so it's there. You just, this generation has to go where they're going to see they're there. They actually exist. They're in the comedians, they're in different formats, comics, poets. There's a lot of fire. You guys have to connect with that community to find them, because there are plenty of them there, especially with what's going on now with all these rules that Trump is doing. Basically, he's growing the next generation of firebrand, because this is essentially the extinction burst. It gets worse before it gets better. This is the last hoorah of this generation of white men, of the angry white men. This is their last hoorah. And once that generation of people wakes up, even the white people are waking up, because it's getting ridiculous, because now they're saying they don't want silent prayers. We want to pray out loud. So it's going to be interesting to hear people with their out loud prayers now. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
How do you do? First, I'm privileged to be in your presence. It's great to see, as the young people say, the goats of educational, you know, in Houston, in Texas, you know,
Old people.
the goats. But what I want to share with you, I want to ask you about the disconnect with the young people and in the educational system with the teachers. My situation was my granddaughter, who I'm raising because her biological parents were deceased, and she came to me from school in the 4th grade, and she came to me and she said, Daddy, I don't have to say yes sir, no sir anymore. I don't have to say no ma'am or yes ma'am to mama no more. I said, what? Where you get that from? He said, the teacher said I don't have to say that no more because that's slave mentality. That I don't have to say that anymore. I said, I couldn't believe it. I thought she was making that up. I said, because the school she's attending is literally predominantly black school with predominantly black teachers. And so there came a time where I had an opportunity to meet the teachers through one of the little teacher parent conferences things. And I asked her, point out the teacher that told you this. And she did, and it was this young, she looked like she could have been her daughter. I mean, she was just that young looking. I could tell, I said, well, she's in her 20s or whatever. And so I walked up and I asked her. And she told me, she said, oh no, that's slave mentality. We're trying to get them out of that. We're trying to get them past all this stuff that happened way back then. They don't need to worry about any of that no more because we're past that. We need to start thinking about something on a higher level. I couldn't believe I was hearing this. I said, so you mean just basic decency is out the window? Just politeness? This is just respect. You know, we teach our children to respect our elders and to respect those in charge. You know, well, I'm sorry, my daughter's gonna keep saying yes ma'am and no ma'am. So if she tells you yes ma'am or no ma'am, you just have to excuse her because this is what I'm teaching her.
I know that's right.
And so my question to you is, what can we do about the disconnect that's in the educational system in our elementary schools? Because this is going on right now. These young teachers are teaching these children who don't have to worry about slavery. You're not a slave anymore. So don't even worry about that kind of history. Yeah. What can we do about that? What do you think about that? Thank you.
Yeah, I have absolutely no answers for that. I was in the classroom and I was teaching communication. And one of the things that I taught my students, and now, because this is Texas Southern University, this is college age, is that number one, you have to be who you are, where you are. So if you are in an environment, the language that I use around my mother and my grandmother was a different kind of English than what I would use when I am downtown. How I sound, and I explain to them that when you are in an office environment, you are there because you are checking off the list for that office environment. So you say those things in that way because that's the office environment. They are not paying you to be yourself. Yourself is a separate person that you were raised to be. And the distinction between how you make your money and what you do with your money has to be taught continuously. It's not in the elementary schools. I would have absolutely no answer to that. When I watch my stepdaughter with her son who's 10, and I listen to him talk, he doesn't sound like us because he's in a different school and a different environment. But you have to explain to them, to the children, and what I explain to them is you are where you are. That's not you. That's who you're being paid to be, who you're being educated to be, what your teachers are going to expect. They have to be taught that difference between who you really are and what you are projecting in whatever environment.
And what you have to do is, education plays a role in your child's life.
It does.
But the morals is
Yes.
not the school's responsibility. You have to let them know, in a nice way. I remember my daughter she transferred high schools when she was in the 12th grade. And I took her so she could select her classes. I'm sitting there and she's talking to the counselor, and I heard the counselor say to her, well, you have enough credits where you can get out at noon. My daughter responded, no, I need some classes afternoon because there's no way my daddy gonna let me get out of school at noon. Mm-hmm. So she knew me, and it didn't matter what the counselor told her. She knew that she was gonna have to take some classes in the afternoon.
I just want to say something that is really simple in response to your question. One, to bridge the gap, you first have to acknowledge that there's a gap.
Absolutely.
Right? And number two, you have to be intentional about trying to close that gap. So if you're not open and willing and wanting to close the gap, after first acknowledging it, it's not going to happen. So you have to acknowledge it, and you got to be intentional about trying to close it. If you're not intentional about it, if you just are okay with it existing as it is, it's going to remain. All right, last question.
Last question. You know, thank you. It's an honor to be here. I work with Douglas and Boney both at the same time. You probably don't remember me. But I'd like to say, you know, when it comes to our children, I think they would face with a lot of things that we have not had to face.
Yes.
You ever heard the saying,
Yes.
Satan is the prince of the air, and the air is in the airwaves, it's in the internet, it's in all these different media sources where they're listening. And I think they are brilliant. They're able to figure it out. I think they do an excellent job. Because I know my nieces, man, they just all the time, you know, just surprise me with how intelligent they are. And they understand what's going on. But sometimes I believe that they love their family and their parents and all those people who are responsible for them, and they want to give them due respect. And, you know, so I think they hold back on with what they have a little bit more than they need to. They need to move forward, step up, and don't worry about it. Because we raised them, we trained them to be who they are, so we ought not be surprised with what they do. And I think our youth are our revolutionary party.
That's
I
right.
don't think they'll play like us.
right.
We worried about what we say to people. They worried about getting it done. And I think that they're the best people to have coming behind us. The absolute best. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for your
And they
comments.
need
All
to
right,
take
y'all.
our place.
Let's give our live studio audience a
Okay.
huge
All right.
round of applause, y'all. All right, so with that being said, we're going to turn it over to conclude and toss it to Danette. Again, let's give our outstanding, amazing, legendary guests a round of applause. Dr. James Dudgeon, Al Janita Scott Davis, and yours truly, Jeffrey L. Boney. Y'all, it was always a pleasure, and we'll see you at the next one. Danette Davis, it's all on you.
All right. Okay. You heard that dinner bell. He's ready to feed y'all. But I did, Jeff, as I close, and we appreciate you here at the KDITC Foundation and all of the guests. Look at all these folks. Thank y'all so much for just giving up your Tuesday for a few minutes to come together as a community. If there's anything, Al Janita, you said something, you know, you deep. When you said, I'm sure we're raising y'all to be what y'all need to do when y'all go out. Y'all need to know how to code switch. That's what she was saying. You teach your kids the code switch so they understand and read the room and know how to do what they do. And then when they, you know, where they're, you know, they say yes, ma'am, and no, sir, and all those things. And people use those things now for, it's a trick. You know what I'm saying? I remember when my daughter was growing up, in schools they would teach them, as long as they said yes and no, not yeah, no, and they said then it's okay. You know they told them that. And we thought, okay, well maybe yes is okay. No, it wasn't. So what you said was phenomenal. Dr. Douglas, very briefly, if there's something you would want to share, briefly, very, very briefly. Because Jeff over there looking at his clock, he got mayor old door knocking to go do and stuff.
I'm going to let the mayor go. Right.
You, what are you doing? No, come on. If you, anybody, really.
I'm good. I'm good.
Three sentences.
I'm good.
You good? Anything, Al Janita? Well, y'all can grab them. I'm trying to hold them so they can just eat a little bit of some stuff. My husband's organic food, you know, he's a chef, and we got okra. We got so much okra growing, we're having to sell it at the farmer's market. Is like that. Last week we sold it and people bought it by the bag and things like that. So we want you to know that there's plenty to eat and there's some drink, and we are going to close it out. Well, we didn't tell you that this event is at the historic El Dorado Ballroom that she talked about earlier with Urban League. And with that, good night.
All right, y'all.
Where the